These have the headpiece in it that you clip onto your hair, but also has a little clip. So sometimes you'll find when you go to the weddings, afterwards you have to take your headpiece out, but it might be quite small, and maybe you want to wear it for the rest of the evening. So you could actually just turn it into a little piece that would go onto your shawl or onto your dress and wear it for the evening. I'm just going to show you how to do a really basic piece using some of the flowers. So these ones are $1.99. I'm just going to stick now kind of going with the communion style headpieces for today, but you could do these in any of the colours that you were doing your outfit in, especially if you have a wedding abroad during the summer and you don't want to be wearing a large headpiece. You can go with something smaller. So I'm just going to start by using 2 different bunches of flowers. Now you could cut off the wire if you wanted to at the end, but I'm actually using that to secure the piece. So just to get the shape I want, I'm just going to twist all the wires together and then twist them into a circular shape by bending it around. And then I'll cut off the excess down from under. We're also going to work a little bit of crinoline today. It frays very easily. So the best thing to do is secure it with a stitch from the base first before you do anything. So you just bring your needle in and just loop it around a few times. And then bring your stitch back in again. You've just created a little base there, so nothing can fray and it won't go anywhere you want. Now you can cut off your excess if you want to, but do leave just a little stump because that will be easy for you to stitch on, or if you want to glue your piece on, you can use this as your base where you're going to glue. So I'm just going to create a few little loops just to show you how quick and easy it is. It's good to use an odd amount rather than even, so just, let me do 3 just to show you. Other than that you kind of go 5, more than that you wouldn't standardly use. It's just if you go 4 and have an even number, all the loops are going to go off. If they're going to look off, the sizing won't look right on them, because each one will be different, whereas if it's an odd amount then you won't be standardly looking at the exact size of each of them. So I'm just wrapping the thread around. I'm just securing it again from the centre. Now I'm just going to cut the base off. Again, just leaving about 1 centimetre onto the ends, so it allows for if it does fray a tiny bit. And then I'll go back to the flowers that I looped a while ago. I'm just going to bring these into the centre of the piece. So using your little knot that you've made with your wiring underneath, that's where you can bring your stitch through with your needle. So we're just going to bring it through the base, loop it round and attach it into the centre. And then I had another bunch somewhere. There they are there. I'm going to bring these in as well. And if you wanted to, what you could do first is separate them all and mix them up a bit so that you don't have all one flower to one side and another to another side. You have an array of colours available in these, and a bunch of 6 is just €1, which is very good because you can pick up a few bunches of different colours you want to combine and just mix them all in. So I'm just going to then just loop the thread around from underneath. It just secures it that bit more, and I'm bringing it onto both sides of the little crinoline loops, and then I'm going to bring one up into the centre and try and get through all the wiring. If you had your pliers, it would be a good time to use it here at this point because it can be quite tricky to get through. And then just unhook any of your little flowers that you've cut down. So you can just see you've created a nice little headpiece there that would be lovely for a child, especially for community. Now you could do this on a much larger scale. We have the wider crinoline, so you could basically make your loops much bigger. You could use much larger flowers like any of these ones that are available, and you can mix and match them and create a much bigger headpiece. It's the same principle, it's just done on a smaller scale. And if you wanted to make your piece have more substance, you could then introduce your little base if you wanted to by sitting it on something like this. Today I'm going to show you by using one of the smaller little pieces how you could use it for both a corsage afterwards, a brooch, or into your hair as well. So you just tie off your threads and knot it at the base. And then using our glue gun, we're going to put the glue onto the base first. So we're just going to take off the base tag first. So we're just going to bring a loop around the glue. Now you don't want to do your glue too close to the edge, because what will happen is when you push a piece down, all your glue is going to come over the edge and it's going to show through in the back. It won't really matter necessarily, but you don't want it to catch on your little brooch or your hook, because that's what you need to use, and you don't want the glue snapping there. So rather than go too close to the centre, you're just going to start in the centre and loop it out the entire way around. Just creating like a little drop into the centre. Now hold it from the side. If you're holding it from underneath, you'll feel how really hot the actual glue is and you might get burnt, so just to be careful. And then just in from the centre, we're just going to push that onto the base. and secure it in. Now it's quite hot, so just to be careful. Now you've just attached that on, and it literally dries within 5-6 seconds. So you could clip it onto the side of your outfit if you wanted to, or you could also put it into the hair. You could add more to this. I'll just show you how to quickly add more feathers with a few more pieces just to make it look a bit more dramatic. So we'll start with a few little feathers. So you just have your bunch of feathers, you just snip from your ends. You see at the end you have kind of, it just gets a bit larger, the stump of it. Go from just below that because this is what's securing all of these together. So we're just going to snip from here. Put a little bit of glue on. Just a little drip to the end like this. And secure it into place where you want it. So just separate your flowers. Maybe beforehand if you want to see the exact position where you're going to put it so that you're not worrying about the glue drying because it dries very fast. We just added a few feathers to that there. And by doing this you can really bring it up and you can increase the size of it. Just to show you now one of these. Just cut off and stump under. And bring it right from underneath. It's almost like flower arranging. You can keep on going and expanding it up to the size that you want it. Here could be a point if you had bridesmaids and you had little flower girls and you want them to be wearing the same colour as your own wedding dress, and then if you want to incorporate the colour from your bridesmaids, you can introduce the colour of the feathers of what the girls are wearing on their dresses. So you could have your whites to go in with your own dress, and then you could introduce whatever colour your bridesmaids are just to tone it all in together. I should show you a few more as well. Again, just a bit of glue onto the ends and bring it into the section where you want it to sit. That just creates this little bit more height to it there. So you bring your feathers around, you'd have an odd amount going around, but just evenly sparse so that they don't look like they're all clumped to one side. See, it's looking a bit off centre now because everything's just going to one side, so I'll just show you how to even it out. If you're wearing your piece very close to the front, make sure all your feathers circle around to the back. You don't want any of the feathers sitting down frontwards like this, going over your face. So it's better if all the height's created around it. If you don't have a glue gun and you don't want to invest in one, then you could always just stitch these in. It's just more time consuming. And also you'd have to make sure that you really secure your needle and thread onto the base of your feather. So the best thing to do would be to leave a longer length to it if you're stitching it, and then circle this around, creating kind of a loop into it. And then this is the point that you bring your feather through. You bring it through both sections with your needle and thread like this, and that would be where you secure it from. Even before it goes into the piece, I'd say loop your thread around a few times. You're kind of creating a little stump at the end, and that's the piece then that you're using to stitch it in with. Needle and thread to go through so it's very secure on, and then you stitch it into place where you want it to go. So you bring your needle in first if you want it to sit out from the edge. And as you start to pull it through, it will sit into place, and then you decide the exact position where you want it to go, and you just secure it inwards. Then bring your thread up and around a few times just to secure it, and tie your thread off at the end. So you can just see the piece now coming together. You could keep expanding on this. You could add more and more as much as you want. You could go really high with the feathers. If you wanted to do some much larger ones, if you wanted to create a lot of height into it, very dramatic, you could do something like this. If you wanted more sparkle and bling, you could just use more of the diamante pieces. You can buy them on stems as well, and they could all be added throughout it as well.